the side of the course that has the most pressure or most wind strength is the favored side.
You can see light patches and then you can see dark patches on the water. That's the wind on the water. So you need to, before the race, you need to go out there and try to figure out what these wind shifts are doing and what these gusts are doing, which direction it's lifting and knocking to, and what side of the course there's going to be a better angle and how much and more pressure on one side of the course in the wind than the other.
I like to pay attention to locations that have thermal winds. They always have a tendency to have more wind near the shore. And also, when clouds come in, there's more wind usually on the edge of the clouds than right underneath them. The most important upwind strategy is to sail towards strengthening wind or a shifting wind.
After the start, when you decided to go left or right, the first thing you have to do well is stay in clear wind. If you have a bad start, you instantly need to tack or try to go below the other guy and try to get clear wind.
On this start, I left it too late to get going. I didn't have a good hole to leeward of me to bear into, and I had a bad start. First thing I had to do was get out of the dirty air, so I tacked off immediately and headed out to the right side of the course, where I was pretty lucky that ended up being the favored side of the course, and I ended up rounding in the top 3. If I hadn't have tacked, however, I would have been stuck in some really bad air for quite a long time and lost a lot of ground.
Going upwind, trying to pass somebody, you kind of want to stand clear of anybody. You know, the fastest way through the course is with clear air. So I try to get away from people as soon as I can, whether it's either tacking or bearing off and going around them and then getting clean air and going through them. So for me, the worst is just to sit behind them and take their bad air. I'd rather lose a little bit of upwind speed and go around them than.
Normally, if you have a good start or if you're leading the race, the good thing to do is try to keep close to the other guys, to the seconds or to the guys that are coming next to you. So normally you shouldn't go by yourself to a different place of the course if the other guys are going to the other place. And normally you should try to point a little bit higher than them if you are in front, so they will go below you, and if they tack, you tack instantly on them.
You know, if you're ahead of somebody, you know, and you're trying to protect your position, you know, I'll pretty much try and cover the guy unless, you know, it's obvious that one side of the course is favored and he tacks off going to the other side. And, you know, some situations where it's like that, where it's totally obvious, you know, which way you have to go. Ley lines going upwind, usually try to just hit it, looking over my shoulder at the mark, kind of when I lose sight of the mark. Pretty much start thinking about tacking right about then, but also I'll be looking around, see what some of the other guys doing, trying to get some angles off some of the other guys, make sure that I'll be tacking somewhere where I'll have some clean air, some clean water.
So if my upwind plan is to commit to the left side of the course, I'll tack a little bit before that ley line, so when the wind does change, I won't overstand that poor tack ley line. Ley lines upwind, I always try and avoid going straight to a ley line because it really limits your options. If the wind changes, you can be stuck on the wrong side of the course.
Depends a little bit of the position you are going. If you are going, you feel you are leading the race, you can play a little bit with the ley line and tack really perfectly and try to make it from below. If you feel you are not in the leading group, maybe it's better to go like 20 or 30 meters more, because all the guys are coming on port and tacking. They won't disturb you, and those 20 meters, if you don't do them in that moment, you will lose them. You will lose 50 or 60 when you get to the mark, because you get to bad air and people will be tacking on your face, so you'll be losing a lot.
If you go too low, then you have to double tack. This is something that you should never do. Always think about going a little bit too far, then a little bit too short. Going too short is bad, because when you're double tacking, usually there are guys on the upwind mark. They take your wind, they create you a bad wave, and it's really hard to get planning again. So make sure you're overlaying the line, the upwind mark line, then underlaying. This is very important.
As the wind shifts, one tack will be shifted and another tack will be headed. Okay, let's say two boats split tacks off the start, one out to the left of the course and one out to the right. The course was favored to shift left, so the boat out on the left side is going to get a favorable shift and round the windward mark, sailing a shorter course on the left ley line.
Normally, every time I see a shift, I try to stay the most of the time in the shift. I try to read a little bit in the water how it looks, and if it is a header, I will go in it like 30-40 meters and tack, and try to get the good shift to the other side. And if I can go better in the shift, I will try to stay as far as possible, and maybe I will try to point a little bit higher to stay more time in the gust.
If the wind is oscillating like in open ocean conditions, sail towards the shift, tack on it, and stay in phase with each following shift. If the wind is shifting persistently to one side of the course due to weather, geography, or buildings, sail to the new wind. Quite often the wind will shift as you get closer to a shoreline, so I like to sail on the tack that's getting headed first and the other tack when it's most lifted.